Hey mamas, today I want to talk about crushing fears because I had all of them. So I went through divorce, bankruptcy, repo, lost everything. It just blew my entire life up during the recession and started all over. I had to move into a rental house with shitty carpets. I talk about that in my book because they really bothered me. But if you really look at it from a different perspective, because he didn't replace the carpets and they were so old and gross, I didn't have to worry about it. So it actually made it easier to raise the kids. There's always something good that comes out of everything, even shitty carpets in your rental house after you lost your house. I guarantee it. So fears. There's so many emotions that come along with getting a divorce, right? You have the fear of failure, fear of putting yourself out there again, fear of rejection, fear of being vulnerable. I spent an entire lifetime being very afraid to express how I really felt inside. I really tried to be perfect. I tried to please everybody. I tried to not say anything that was wrong. I tried to do the right thing, obey all the rules, make everybody happy. I'm in the middle of 11 children. So I don't know anything but being in the middle of 11 children. I hear the middle child has a tendency to be the peacemaker and try not to have any fights. And I didn't want to make anybody mad. And I was terrified. I was terrified of everything, of my entire life. I remember walking down to the little, gas station so we could get candy. It was called Samsky's in the middle of nowhere in Virginia where we lived. And I was terrified every single time a car passed me because I thought they were going to come, they're going to stop and they're going to grab me and they're going to kidnap me. So if I heard a car coming, I knew something was approaching, I would start jogging. So they'd be like, nope, they can't catch me, they can't catch me, they can't catch me. And then they'd go by and then I'd start walking again. So I have spent so many years being afraid of literally every single thing. And then after you go through so many things and so much trauma, like a divorce, then you're probably afraid of even trying it all over again, probably afraid of dating. I mean, when I first got divorced, I was like, ready to go out. I never sowed my seed, my wild seeds when I was younger. I didn't date very much. And basically I married my first boyfriend because I met him when I was 22. I just didn't date that much when I was younger than that. So I had no experience, no communication skills. I was so naive. I was so young. And that's just a recipe for success right there. So I wanted to go out. I was angry and had all these emotions, and I was just mad that it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, and I'm just going out, And then after a while, I was really getting frustrated, and I realized that I had a hard time being myself, and I was attracting all the wrong people. I was attracting all the people that were also trying to, pretend they were somebody else, because you're always going to attract who you are, not who you like, and not who you want. And so the only way to get over fears that I know, the only way that I know how, is to try to gradually find ways to become the person who you really want to be. Then that takes the fear out of it, because if you can cultivate self-love and self-confidence and self-worth, then it makes it not scary. It doesn't matter really what happens. It doesn't matter if you go on a date and it's a disaster. It doesn't matter if you have a bad day. It doesn't matter, if you make a mistake, because you know for yourself that you're doing okay. You're doing a great job. Just had a bad day. There's no story around it like you're just a loser and a failure. So how do you get from that? How do you even get to where you're not afraid of rejection and afraid to be yourself? Well, I have a couple strategies that I wanted to share with you. First, be really super crystal clear about what it is that you want to create. We already know what you don't want. You don't want somebody that's like your ex, probably. And some of them, obviously, you fell in love at the beginning and it was great. None of us go into marriage thinking this is going to be awesome. It's going to be, 5 great years, 5 horrible years, all out war, then a year of battling at the courthouse. Going to be awesome. Can't wait to get divorced in 11 years. Nobody does that. None of us have done that. Obviously, we fell in love and it went to shit at some point. All those things taught us what we don't want. And so if we can move on and move forward to focusing continually every single day on what it is that we really, really, really want, we really want a partner. Let's be really honest. You might not be ready to date. I don't, depending on where you are in your, I don't know if you're still, separated or whatever, but if you've been divorced for a while, what you really want is a partner who loves you and cherishes you and adores you. And I think the fear comes from not believing that it's actually possible, or there are actually amazing people out there that exist that do want marriage and do want to love and cherish and adore their wife or their husband. Well, there are. And one of the ways that you believe that and take away the fear of, dating or getting into another relationship is to surround yourself with people that have amazing marriages right now. I focused on the relationships that I loved and I really admired and I cherished, and I thought that they were so sweet and they were so kind and they're best friends that have been together a long time. Anybody can have, perfect, honeymoon, awesome, first year or whatever. That's easy for everybody. Everybody has that. What I find incredibly astounding and what I want so bad is I want to be like that 40 years from now. And I found, physical manifestations in my actual world, in my reality, couples that had that, so that I could remind myself and change my beliefs that were telling me it's not possible, and that I could refocus and I say, yes, because if it's possible for them, then it's possible for me. It's possible for one of us, then it's possible for all of us. So the more you spend time with and focus on the couples that you really admire, and even if you're not in the same, town, you can call them, you can FaceTime them, you can just think about them, write about what you love about their relationship. What is so cool about it? My friends Rita and Sabrina, they were married since they were in high school. So I'm not sure exactly how many years, but their kids are already grown. They have a wonderful relationship. They're best friends. They run a business together, always have. Right now, they share the same office. So they have one office with two desks on either side of it, with the table in the middle. That's where we have our meetings. We still work together. And I've known them for like 25 years, and they're best friends. And I write about them in my book because anytime I had doubts about marriage or relationship, or nobody has good relationships, everybody gets divorced, that crap creeps in and doesn't get us closer to our goals. It gets us further away from our goals. Then I would think about Reed Sabrina. Said, nope, they're both successful, they're both amazing, they raised 3 incredible children. They're just incredible people, but they're best friends. They go to lunch together every single day. Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. They've been together since they were like 16 or 17 or something. It's like 40 years-ish or something, close. It's incredible. So when I look at those, I would write about things that they had, the traits that they had and the things that they would do. How do you do that? How do you be best friends 40 years later? It's because that's their first priority, period. And they've had all the fights, they've had all the things, they've had all the challenges, they went through the recession, everybody has challenges and fights and all of that. But to see them talk to each other, I still get emotional because they were my beacon. They were my hope. I told them how grateful I was, and they just kind of looked at me like it was so weird. Like, well, yeah, of course we're, best friends and we love each other and we're going to stay together forever. Like, it was so weird for me to be so emotional about it and so grateful for them for that example. And so it's kind of funny. Some people is just like a normal thing. For us who've been divorced, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that happening. I want to have a 40th anniversary. Like, yeah, I do want that. And so anytime I would have a doubt, focus on the relationships that you already have. The other thing that takes the fear out of dating and relationships in general is just to be a student. And I've talked a lot about this, and I call all dates teachers, because every single person in our life is teaching us something. But look what happens when you think about it that way. All the times you went out on a date, or all the times you're thinking about your divorce and your ex, and you're going, oh my gosh, he did this, he did that, he lied, he didn't do what he said he was going to do, he abandoned me, he didn't come home, blame. And how's that making you feel? But when we shift our entire focus, every single person around us is not doing something to us, but they are possibly teachers. They're teaching us something. If we pay attention and if we shift our thinking, then it's not scary. I met this guy in San Francisco. He was wearing a Harvard sweatshirt. And, oh, that was, you go to Harvard? It's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So he calls me in the morning and he wants to take me out again. And I'm like, all right. So I show up and he's literally in the same outfit, same sweatshirt. I wish it were not true. So I go up to the bar and he has a drink. I look under the bar, and there's literally a shopping bag, like a grocery plastic bag, sitting there by his feet underneath the bar. Right. So I'm sure he went to Harvard. I'm pretty sure he's homeless. So this kind of shit used to just destroy me back in the day until I made this shift. So what is this teaching me? I had a little bit of a gut feeling that I was like, something's a little off with this guy. And I was like, well, I'll just give it I'm always like, oh, give everybody the benefit of the doubt and just go anyway to see what happens. However, I will always listen to my gut now, because now if I think anything is off, then it's not worth it, right? And it's not worth your time. You could be, with your friends, or you could be with your children. You could be, cultivating better relationships with the people in your life right now, instead of dating someone you're like going out on a lunch or a coffee or whatever, or having a beer with somebody. It's like, I didn't feel it. I hung out for a second, then I was out of there, went back to my friend's house. But when you do it that way, you go, oh, okay, so I'm gonna work on creating the list of everything I want in a partner. And I put it in the notes of my phone. You probably heard me say that a billion times. But the reason why I did that is because putting it on a piece of paper didn't work, because I didn't believe it was true, and it was in a drawer, and I didn't read it every day. So it's in your phone, you get to read it and edit it, because we're always learning. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. And when I first started dating, or I first started on this mission to become the person I wanted to be, right after my best friend's wedding, that was July of 2013. Well, by the time I had met John, December of 2014, my list had changed. It was like this to this. I was constantly editing it, because I learned something that I don't want, or I do want, and so I'm going to put that on my list. So, one of my last teachers, he loved to come to my concerts. I'm a classical singer. It's not everybody's bag, it's not everybody's cup of tea to listen to Bach for 2 hours. But, and I had never never dated anybody who actually liked to come to my concerts, who came and loved it. He did. And every single time he sat there in the audience and beaming at me, and he would bring me a dozen roses. I never had that before. So I didn't have that on my list. I wanted somebody who brings me flowers and loves somebody who loves to hear me sing, loves to come to my concerts. Not just would come, I already had that. I had to drag him there. He hated it. At the end of it, he said, the benches are uncomfortable. That's it. So I get it. It's not everybody's thing. Classical music is only for some people, but it's very important to me. And obviously I get a whole lot of joy from singing, and I love classical music. So I just wanted a partner that loves classical music and would love to hear me sing and would love to be there and would come to my concerts beaming at me. So my last teacher taught me that. So I added that, and that's what I have today. That's my reality today. That's why I'm telling you about the soulmate list and why it's so important. If you work on what you want to create, if you focus on what you want to create, then you start to believe that it's possible. And if you focus on couples that actually have what you have, then you go, oh, it is possible. I'm going to start writing the things that I really want to have in my relationship, the things that I really want to create, and then make little teeny small quantifiable goals. So you're learning the lessons. You say, this is what I want. You go on a date, you learn. He doesn't pay the bill? Well, then you want someone who's courteous, who's kind, who's a gentleman. You have a good date with somebody, and then the next time then you never hear from him again. Then you say, my soulmate, pursues me, and he will make time for me and make me feel important. I had that for sure. My husband runs a big company, a big Toyota store, and he always takes my calls. He's never too busy. Even if he just says, hi, I'm in the middle of something, or hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you right back. He always answers to make sure everything's okay with me, and there's no problems or emergencies or whatever, because I'm his biggest priority. My health and safety and my well-being is the most important thing to him. And I didn't believe that, and I was afraid to be myself, and I was afraid to be vulnerable. But I realized also with my last teacher that if you're not vulnerable and you're not telling the truth, then you're just going to attract people that don't tell the truth. And he was pretending to be someone he wasn't. And I was too. So when you go along with things that you really don't think are right, you go along with things that you wish were different, and you don't say anything and you don't speak up, well, then that's the same thing as lying. And if you're attracting a certain type of people over and over and over and over again, something is internally, that is in you that you're doing that you don't realize. And but the best way to overcome fears about it all is to just constantly learn. Just constantly be a seeker of how you can learn something new and how you can be better and how you can become the person that you want to be, and focus on what you want to create and put it in your soulmate list, so that helps you focus on it, and helps you edit it, and helps you, get crystal clear about what you want in a partner and in life, in relationships. And also tell the truth. I don't know why it's so hard for me to tell the truth. I was so afraid to tell anybody about, my past, about my background, about all the mistakes I've made. I felt so much shame my whole life because I wasn't perfect. Obviously, we're never going to be. So if I made a mistake that I thought I shouldn't have made, I had a hard time telling people about it. And so my last teacher taught me that I'm just going to tell the truth, and no matter what, I'm just going to have to be honest, because I keep attracting liars. And then my very first date with John, I told him everything. I told him, the bankruptcy, foreclosure, this, that, and the other, and I had $30,000 in freaking IRS debt. And it wasn't like I went into debt like I was planning on, racking up, not paying taxes for 10 years, or racking up all the debt I could, and then, moving to Mexico or something. I was just running a business after a recession, and we didn't have a whole lot of cash flow. And we did fine. Obviously, I could feed my children, but I needed it more than the government. I felt shame about that, though. And so, because he told me some things about his past, and I could be vulnerable with him, it's a two-way street. So once you have that vulnerability and you go, okay, it's okay. When you meet the person that you meant to be with the rest of your life, you're going to forgive him for anything that he did in the past, and he's going to tell you about it. And so you don't have to be afraid to tell anybody how you truly feel, what's happened in the past. And actually, the more we tell the truth, the more vulnerable we are, the more we help each other not feel alone, because we're not alone. Everything that we've done, someone else has done it. Everything that we're ashamed of, someone else has also done the same thing too. Someone's in the same boat, but you might not know it, and you will never know it unless you share it. And sharing it and being vulnerable and telling the truth is really the only way we can heal and help each other and be there for each other. And I hope this helps, and I hope you have lots of dates and you get lots of teachers, so that you can figure out exactly what you want, because what you want, what I want, totally different things. Your list is going to be totally different than mine. And I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for being here and listening to my videos and being here on my channel. And don't miss out on new posts and new lessons and strategies for attracting the love of your life. And you can do that by subscribing. And I'm wishing you lots and lots and lots of love. Mwah.